welcome. This is a brand new project that Cody and I just came up with because it seemed important because we have so many wonderful people around us. And so we're going to start recording our friends who are visiting and both who are part of the classes and live here. So this is my dear friend Tobias, and he's here with us for a few days. And this is my beloved friend Amanda, who I've known for 20 years or something. Yeah, and she's here with us. So we're going to start a conversation. It's going to be as informal and as vulnerable as it wants to be. And this is our first recording, so it's a grand experiment. So the question that I want us to explore is, how are you working on the process of unconditional love in your life? And how does that keep coming forward here at the Radiance Center? Because that's part of our motto. So I just want to ask all of us, what are we learning about unconditional love? And we don't want to do a spiritual bypass. We don't want to pretend that everything is fine. We want to relate this to what's going on in the world right now, what's going on in life, and how it helps when we find each other, how we take care of each other. So there's my question is, what's going on in our lives that's teaching us about unconditional love? Because I can promise you, when the community came here to live at the Radiance Center, we talked about unconditional love, and I don't think anybody had any idea where that was going to take us, how deep it was going to take us, how angry it was going to make us, how hurt we were going to feel, because you have to go all the way to the core of yourself to get the kind of unconditional love that we're trying to give to the world and to each other. So who would like to start? And be patient with us. We have no idea what we're doing. I guess I can start by saying that the fires just happened here on Maui a couple of months ago. And right now, nobody knows who to trust or what really happened or who is giving unconditional love. I know the native people, the locals, all of us who have lived here for a long time, we are taking such amazing care of each other. But we're not sure about the cause of the fires and who, was it some random set of mistakes, or was it caused in some way? And who do we trust? And if we know that we can't trust somebody, do we still want to give them unconditional love? So that's my beginning, is looking at that, because I'm working with the Native Hawaiians, and there is so much trauma, so much PTSD, because anytime something this intense happens, it brings up all of our own childhood PTSD, and we apply it to whatever's going on out in the world. So I am really focused right now on how to love what some people would call the victims, and other people would call the instigators, because who knows what's true? But even if we did know what's true, is it a good thing to love unconditionally? What difference does it make? So So I open this question to all of you, but feel free to tell me about your own lives and what you're doing in terms of learning to love unconditionally. Thank you.
I'll share.
Thank you.
Thank you, Spirit.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's such a deep question with so many different layers, I think, too.
Yeah, isn't that great?
With what's going on, you know, globally, what's going on here on the islands, and then as an individual process, what's going on. I just want to say I landed on Maui a couple days ago and just recognize how it's taken 2 days to just sort of allow my nervous system to settle.
Yeah.
From the pace of our world, even on the islands, it can be busy. Especially, I live on Oahu. So yeah, I to be completely honest, I have been struggling, and a lot of depression and anxiety have been coming up in my life. And
not related specifically to the fires, it was already happening.
It was already happening.
Yeah.
And I think that there's, like I said, when it's so deep, the question, because it does, the global, the environment, the where we're at as a world is heavy if we attach our thoughts onto all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel that I was in somewhat attaching some of my thoughts into that collective fear, and that is a piece of my struggle. Is how, and like you said, like how do we trust in a world that is so intense and sad and violent.
Violent, yeah.
And then, you know, as an individual, just shedding my childhood wounds and really looking at my childhood wounds of trust and unconditional love. And it wasn't unconditional love. It was very much based on condition and performance, and I was always scanning to not make a mistake, and so thus armor came over my heart. And so at times it feels like, how do I, with everything going on globally and energetically, fires included, it just sometimes feels like how can I get through this?
Yeah.
And there's subconscious things, there's things in my body that I'm learning to just give permission. I think learning unconditional love, reparenting my inner child.
Oh, nice.
At this place, knowing that I'm safe, being in an environment like this, of like a loving community of unconditional love, is teaching me there's a different way. Releasing old limiting beliefs and insecurities. And it's a daily practice for me.
Yeah.
And
you're raising a child.
Yeah, I'm raising a child, and that's another whole piece, is I'm trying to be a loving light of presence for myself and be that a guide for him, to show him that there's a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you know, I will say I was getting sort of taken down by all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I sort of feel like I have to be like a warrior, like,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, it's a daily practice for me of looking at with a curiosity, a very gentle curiosity, or maybe some days it's not gentle. Maybe it's maybe it's like I need to go, okay, like, hello anger.
Mm-hmm.
What are you here to teach me?
Mm-hmm.
Where is this my anger, or is this somebody else's anger?
Mm-hmm.
Was this passed down from my family or the environment? And tending to it in whatever way I need to. If that means move to release the tension, movement in my body, or, you know, scream in the ocean.
Great place to scream.
Yeah, I think what I'm currently working on is just this unconditional love and acceptance of myself.
Yes, there's the core.
And to whatever comes up in me, and the more I develop that in me, then I have that non-judgment and acceptance toward anyone who I come in contact with.
Nice. Thank you.
Because, you know, it is heavy out there, but through this process that I've been in, even more so in the last few months, it is possible to rise up out of the heaviness and transform this suffering into that unconditional love and heart space, that
softening.
a softening, and really connecting to each other.
Yes, and I'm so in awe that you're doing that. You could have hardened more and more.
Yeah, and I'm really practicing like a lot of gentleness with myself, because at times the armor that I'm releasing is very like hard and rigid.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just making choices in the moments to have the courage to face it
Good for you.
and take care of it in a way that I wasn't taken care of, I think, emotionally, in the ways that I needed to when I was younger. So,
and it's so cool that as you're softening, the people in your life are softening without you even having to require it. It's just, there's more access to this love, and that's so cool. Wow. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
I don't necessarily have something to share. Well, all right, so it's not about me, but it's kind of more going off of what Amanda just said. I've been yesterday, it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, I was contemplating that which allows for healing to take place. And because I was on this topic with Dylan, and just allowing, I had kind of thought about the aspects of healing, and for me, the proper container, safety, right, and space for it is necessary. Presence is often necessary, either our own or someone else's. But for me, the biggest two, it seemed like that really made the impact when I spoke them, were gentility, being gentle with ourselves, and having whoever you're with being available to be gentle with you as well. And
It
connection.
really helps, yeah.
Gentleness and connection were two major points when it comes to allowing the process of healing to truly take place. So I think just to say that it takes great courage to be soft in this time. And
For sure.
at the same time, I think that is the strongest way that we can be, and the way that we can go about living our lives through gentleness, through the softness of reparenting, ultimately reparenting our own selves, and preparing the world for our children's eras, which look, you know, they have the potential, they have the ability to be unconditional in their love, where we grew up with more of the conditioned love. We grew up with, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. I'll love you if you're this way. And that time and that the product of those generations has come to an end. It's time to shift into these new ways of being.
Yes.
And the aspects of gentility, connection, softness, safety with our own selves. Let's not be so hard on ourselves. That was
safety with yourself.
That was the original topic that brought this all up, was how even, especially probably even the ones who are really refined on the path, they often are the most critical of themselves, and they are their biggest obstacle in that way. And so as we lean into softness and we open up those pieces of armor that may be guarding our heart, you know, we kind of have to peel them back sometimes. And as that process unfolds, the naturalness that is unconditional love, that we are, that all of us are, will begin to unfold and express itself with less restriction as we go. So I guess I encourage everyone to be a little more soft with ourselves and take great care of the internal world that we have brewing on in this time, as it is a reflection of our external world. And when we do make the internal change, it does reflect into our physical reality, no matter what, no matter where we are.
Oh, so good. Thank you. How about you, Mila?
Yeah, I was reflecting on something as I was listening to Cody. In my experience of kirtan a couple days ago, in regards to exploring unconditional love. In my experience at kirtan, I was coming into a space of completely surrendering
Yeah, that's what's required.
to the experience
Yeah.
of that moment, rather than experiencing life from the meaning that I've given life from the past.
Yes, yes.
Critical shift. Very, very important.
And I'm praising God in this moment, and I'm experiencing this complete surrender into unconditional love, which literally is like a good description of it would be no meaning. It's like just
He
nothing.
says that all the time. Yeah, good.
I love it. It's nothing, because you're only experiencing what is there, rather than experiencing what I've labeled it.
Yes.
Seeing things without the filter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only truly can we see something for what it is when we remove the filter that is placed on our perspective.
I love that.
Well said. Yeah. And then the next day, you were going through an experience of being left out, not honored, not loved,
Well-
until.
Well, with that specific experience.
No secrets here.
That's what we're here for.
Mhm.
On
Well,
camera.
let me grow into that.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Conclude into that experience. I would like to continue the being in the surrendering to God just quickly in the
Go
experience
for it.
Mhm.
of feeling all of the things that I've given meaning kind of just being coming off like a butterfly getting rid of his cocoon
Mm.
and just experiencing this anxiety of like, don't take away from what I already think I know.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's kept me safe to think I know.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to surrender in the space of unconditional love and experience just what is.
Yes. Lovely.
Mm.
And did you know, and then I'll let you go on, did you know that a caterpillar can't just turn into a butterfly? It builds a cocoon and then it has to totally melt
Literally.
until it becomes liquid, until there's no longer any instructions for being a caterpillar. And there's no instructions for anything yet. And then the butterfly forms itself out of that nothingness. Pretty cool, huh?
That is-
How the universe works. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Where does
They literally turn into goo.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're feeling like goo,
Oh, it's
you're
a good
in the
thing.
right place.
Yeah, exactly. And many of us are goo right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
so if I can understand what you're saying, be in a complete space of nothing and being in the unknown,
Yes.
and in that faith of being in the unknown, something can come from.
Yes.
Mhm.
And we have to give up our old instructions
Mm.
in order to do that.
Mm.
That was my experience
I know.
of feeling like God is like taking everything I know away from me to be in
Uh-huh.
to be in the nothing of love.
Terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you. I'm so in awe.
But yeah, I'll definitely continue to elaborate on
Uh-huh.
what you were saying earlier. Based on the discussion that you were guiding me through, I was preparing to continue a story
Repeat
That-
the story, yeah.
I have going on in a subconscious, which is being undeserving of acceptance and
Yes.
care from other people.
And that if people really knew you, they wouldn't like you or love
Right.
you. Mhm.
Yeah. And I discovered last night that I was hearing people in such a way and listening to people in such a way that almost like blaming
Mhm.
my experience in myself on somebody else.
Mm.
Yeah.
And maybe not wanting to own it,
Mhm.
and recognizing that that was me
Yeah.
and not the other person.
Yes. And that we're needing people to play out the parts of the person who hurts us or whatever, so that we can go back and look at that.
Mhm.
But not realizing that their souls are doing that because they love you. Their soul loves your soul, and wants to play out the part for you so that you can see it and
So love detoxes.
yeah, love does detox. Oh my God, yes. It does.
Anything that can't match the vibration of love
Uh-huh.
has to come up and dissipate in
Yeah.
order for love to take its place.
Wow. Do you want to say more?
Amazing. No, that's
Mhm.
well. Could we, in that sense, when you love someone so much and it comes up,
Yes.
there's like, what is the navigation to the love when the gunk comes up?
I say that last question
There's got to be
again.
a complete Jedi.
So in so much love, the gunk
Uh-huh.
comes up, and,
Yes.
and now we have to navigate
Uh-huh.
through that to the love.
Or it's already there underneath it. When
Mhm,
all the
mhm.
stories go away,
It's
what's
removal.
left is love.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this
So
is
it's like
something.
catching ourselves, like when we're caught in
Yeah.
the lens or the story. And I think I've been really looking at like self accountability.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that if we're unhappy, it's because there's a belief in us
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's keeping us unhappy.
Or
Mhm.
I also ask myself, like, what would it feel like to be without this lens?
Yes, 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 yes.
So I get beyond the mind into the feeling.
Mm-hmm. So I do that. Like if I get triggered by somebody or hurt by somebody, I write down, first here's the trigger, and then I write down, what is the belief I have that causes that to trigger me? And then I write, what is the belief I need to understand to no longer be triggered and just go straight to the love?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that Tobias touched on something really, really important. That every single time,
Yeah.
it's not about them.
Uh-huh.
If I am having an issue,
Mm-hmm.
it is something that I am needing to
Explore.
check in
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
and explore and
Yeah.
identify the places inside of me that are having the issue. It's not the other person that has done this to me. None of us are victims ever.
Yeah.
And in that radical responsibility, I now have the full power to clear, cleanse, change, shift, and upgrade my reality.
Mhm.
And it does look like sitting with yourself. It does look like in the moment that I am pissed, I need to remove myself. I need to have the self-awareness enough to remove myself from the situation without exploding on someone else, because that's just a bunch of drama that no one really wants.
And even if you do, you still need to love yourself. But
That's
yes,
true.
Ideally,
Even if you do
yeah.
get to that point, there has to be that recognition of, okay, this was actually mine and it wasn't about this other person. It wasn't about you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And then you turn that on yourself as well. It wasn't about them. It was about me.
Please
I'm
forgive
sorry.
me.
Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And really working in gentleness with yourself through these stages of like, not just removing a belief, because if you remove a belief and you don't fill it with something, something will take its place that you probably don't want again. But really shifting in that moment, this idea, for me, the most recent one was a moment where I finally, like, I got so triggered on this very, very minor thing. I immediately left, and I found myself asking, am I broken? Am I inherently broken because no one wants to be around me or no one wants to include me in things? And that led me through the questioning, through the feeling, through the somatic and visceral feeling of my own wholeness. It led me to my own wholeness, where the answer of the question is absolutely not. In fact, I'm more whole than I was even aware of in the moment.
Yeah.
And that felt like the full shift of that belief, that it led me to the truth of what that belief was and where it is now. And that all happened without anyone else's input, or I mean, you were there to a large degree,
I'm
but
just holding.
you're just holding, right?
Yeah.
It's not involving anyone else. It's
Yeah.
always between us and ourselves, or us and God.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say God,
Love.
most of us mean love.
Yeah.
Because God, Goddess comes in every form possible to get our attention, including pissing us off.
Shoot.
Yeah. So
I have a
yeah.
couple things that I think it's like a question. Is like, okay, if one thing is the lens that we're looking through, right?
Mhm.
And then the other thing is like, if we're triggered, that is something that is in us. If we're
Do
triggered,
we still believe?
and but how do we like separate what is ours and the trigger and what is actually like, let's just give the example of like somebody that really does have negative energy.
If you get upset at them being negative, your thing.
That's not what I always say.
If they're being negative and it doesn't bother you, you're pretty clean from it.
So like, would you like, so just being aware of what my reactions are, and I can always just say, okay, you know, I'm gonna very
you
kindly
can
leave the
great.
room.
Yep.
You can
Okay.
either leave because you need to. If you're bored and just, this doesn't affect me, then you're done with the question. But if it triggers you, it means that you're still believing something. And so you can say, I'm just going to go away and think for a while.
Or it, like also is what's coming to me right now is like, oh, what a blessing this is.
Exactly.
Because I can,
Yes.
this isn't something that, I need to work on this.
Exactly. And
And that's
thank
the
you for
right
caring enough to
perspective.
show me that.
Yes.
That
To the
there's
other
a
person,
to
to the other soul,
person. Thank
You've
you
just given me a gift
for
where
being
I am now
willing
more
to play the
self-aware.
part of the person who hurts me. Yeah.
So we are 100% responsible for our experience.
And that's not to
That's
say
that's
that
where
the
the power,
human
too.
part of us still is in duality. So it still gets its feelings hurt, or it still gets outraged. But in the long run, when you bring it down to the deepest truth, you know, the mystics, and you'll hear me say this over and over again, the mystics said it's not about addition of more consciousness, more hours of meditation, more whatever. It's about subtraction. It's about taking away the beliefs that don't match the fact that you're made of God. You're made of love.
There's no separation.
Right. Yeah.
It's only in our mind.
Yeah.
I think it was Rumi who said something, don't remember the exact quote, but it's like, you don't need something to love. You basically just need to remove the places inside of yourself where you're holding against love for love to be in your life.
Yeah.
Because love's already there.
Exactly.
Love's what we're made of.
Okay.
And anybody who's being mean to us, and I'm not doing a spiritual bypass, but anybody who's mean to us is because there's something we still agree to experiment with. You know, I just want to say that we thought this was going to be a great experiment, but it was truly lovely and truly what I want to have happen in each of these conversations. And we could go on for hours, but I think that people have an attention span that only wants to go so far. I even have this urge to turn off the camera, let it be done, and then turn on the camera again and we do a sequel. Because it's so good.
I love it.
But thank you all for listening, and thank you all for having the courage to look inside yourself. And thank you guys.
Thank
I
you.
love you so much. Okay, we did it.
Yay.
Yay.